Warning: this recording has been licensed by the copyright owner for private home use only. All other rights are reserved. Any public performance, copying, editing, exhibition, renting, or any other use in whole or in part is strictly prohibited, and any such action under copyright law establishes liability for civil action and may give rise to criminal prosecution. Infringement will be strictly enforced. Do not copy this recording.
Thanks for joining us for Profile. I'm Ian Boyne, your host. It's that time of the week for your story of inspiration. Our story of inspiration today comes from Kingston 13, Crescent Road in particular. It is that of Harcourt Fuller. He grew up in a small one-bedroom shack with a family of 10. Poverty. He attended Greenwich Primary School, then Trenchtown Comprehensive School. Went to the United States, where he attended the City University of New York, achieved both the first and the second degrees from CUNY. Then he went to the famed London School of Economics in Britain, where he did both the master's and the PhD degrees. Today he's a visiting scholar in the African Studies program at Boston University. He has traveled to 4 continents, including, has been to Ghana in Africa, and in fact did his PhD thesis on the Nkrumah years. Harcourt Fuller's story is one of inspiration. It is one that tells us that if we put our minds to our goals, to our dreams, we can achieve those things. We thank you for your company, as usual, on Profile. Harcourt, good to have you. Good to be able to catch you on this visit.
It's a pleasure to be here, Ian.
Let's start with Crescent Road, that little shack.
Yes.
Your 7 siblings, your parents in just one room.
Yes.
What were the conditions like?
Well, you know, it's a typical situation in the ghettos, you know,
Yes.
where, you know, you come from a large family, you are poor, you know, so everyone lives in whatever you have. In our case, we lived in a 1-bedroom house.
You sleep at night, bungalow.
Sleep, bungalow. When rain fall, you know, the house a leak, you know, you have to put maybe a butter pan on the bed to catch the water.
Yes.
You know, them kind of vibes, you know.
Yes.
Them kind of vibes.
So as you would walk to school, you would see youth on the corner
Yeah,
with some
man.
big machine.
You know, when I used to walk, I used to go to school sometime, especially when I went to Trenchtown, you know, you walk and you see man sit down pan, you know, the gully side with a M16 in him lap. And you just have to heal him and go through because
Yes.
you had your head straight on your body, you know what you were about. You know that you're not thinking about no guns, although it's around you every day.
Yes.
Although the temptation is there, people want to draw you in and those kinds of things.
What kept you away? A lot of your friends were drawn in. So what kept you?
I have to say that it was because of my parents.
Family again.
Both my mother, Jennifer Johnson Fuller, and my father, Ashley Fuller, were very strict, right? And they determined that their children would have to go to school.
Even though they weren't educated.
Even though both my
In a
mother,
formal
and,
sense.
yes, in a formal college, and no, they
Yes.
weren't educated
But
like
they
that.
stressed education.
They stressed education. And I'll tell you something. My dad, for example, Ashley Fuller, a lot of times we went to school without lunch money, right? But he would cook lunch. And he would make sure that we have to come home. When 12 o'clock come, you have to walk from Greenwich or Trenchtown and come home to eat and run back. If you, maybe sometime, you know, you don't want your friends know that you have to go home for lunch because if they see you leave the school, you know, them are going to tease you that you have to go home for lunch and them have them lunch money. But if you don't go home, if you didn't go home, right, my dad would be upset because he would know that you were at school hungry. And him always say you can't learn from hungry belly. Right, so he was concerned. You have to eat food to learn.
Trenchtown Comprehensive, not an elite school, not a school with any kind of status. I mean, you know, today if anybody were to pass the GSAT and be sent down there, I mean, he would be in you know, hollowing in tears and feeling bad about himself. You moved from Trenchtown Comprehensive to one of the finest universities in the world, the London School of Economics.
Well, let me
But how you felt when you were at Trenchtown?
Well, let me tell you something, right? Like any other kid at the time, right?
You'd feel.
I had applied to the elite schools. I cannot remember now. I think I had applied. I wanted to go to George's or Excelsior or one of those schools. When that letter came and I opened it and I saw our. No, actually, what happened was.
GSAT, you think?
Yeah, I didn't see my name in the newspaper, and for days I had the same newspaper looking. We said, no, man, them must, maybe me never look on the right page, right?
So you feel the common entrance?
No, I didn't get the necessary grades to go to the elite high school, so they sent me to Trenchtown. So I kept looking in the papers, and I said, maybe if me wake up tomorrow, me will see my name. For several days, and then the letter finally came that I was accepted to Trenchtown. And my Uncle Ezra Robinson, was at the house at the time, and I cried. Because I said, me don't want to go to Trenchtown. Yes. Trenchtown is nowhere. I want to go to Calabar or one of those schools. Yeah. And my uncle took me and said, look, yes, you don't get into Trenchtown. I'm sorry, into George's and them schools. But you got into Trenchtown. It's a decent school. You know, go there and do your best. And he took me personally to Trenchtown to make sure I was registered and stuff. All right. And so for the first couple of months, I was very unhappy because I was a failure. Yes, I didn't get into the elite schools. I couldn't show, you know, I couldn't, because even though you come from the ghetto, you have pride.
It's true.
I couldn't, you know, I couldn't come back and my friend them I walk with them nice tie and them epaulet and I go George's and me I go Trenchtown.
So when you go in that bus, you see them man with them.
No, I'll give you a joke. What used to happen back then, I used to have 3 other really good friends. At Trenchtown. And what used to happen, you know, sometimes when we get on the bus to go home, for example, right? You know, if we get on a bus, like going to Harcourt or something, people from uptown would hold, especially women, would hold them purse, because them see with a Trenchtown, and Trenchtown a bad neighborhood. And them used to have off Trenchtown students as, you know, pickpockets or thieves and things like that. We used to actually, you know, if we had friends that went to George's and so we used to ask them to get an extra tie or an extra epaulette.
So you would put that
so
on?
we'd have one in our bag, and if we had to go, you know, go uptown or something, we would, or go on a bus, we would sew on, put on the epaulette or put on the tie.
To gain acceptance.
Just to gain acceptance, status. And then we reach home, we take it off.
Because the stigma was so bad.
Because the stigma was so bad about Trenchtown. Even though the reality is that Trenchtown was an academically sound school. We didn't have the prestige of the Ivy League high schools.
We probably didn't have the resources.
We didn't have the resources. You know, for example, when I took electrical, I forgot what they call it. I took electrical.
Yeah, electrical.
Yeah, and sometimes we didn't have transistors, we didn't have, but the teacher was dedicated.
So they were dedicated, concerned teachers.
Yes, and they pushed us. You know, we had to study hard. I was, you know, I used to par with 3 other youth. We had a little group, right? We call ourselves the Fabulous 4, right? I was the expert on geography. Someone else was good, excellent at chemistry. Someone else agri-science, and someone else, you know, let's say physics. And we would compete amongst ourselves. So if we had an exam, for example, and I got a 98 in geography, the next time, a lot of my friends would hide and study. Sometimes you see a friend, and you say, well, Adam, so I do nothing. When you look him screech around the corner and him beat the book. Right?
So you compete
and then the
academics.
next time the exam come, he might get 99 and you will get 98. I said, well, I can't make him have it. And so that competition kept us in the 90s. Yes, man, that competition. But even when we achieved academically, we were still not given the credit because we did not go to one of the elite schools.
The dangers of stigmatization. I hope somebody is watching who didn't get through for one of the elite high schools, but who would look at the example of a Harcourt Fuller and see what he has achieved, irrespective of the fact that he didn't get to go to the elite schools that he had in mind. We take our first break on Profile. Welcome back. My guest lived in inner cities in Jamaica and the United States, but now he holds 2 master's degrees and a PhD from the famed London School of Economics. He has studied international studies, international relations, history, and economics. Harcourt Fuller tells his story. After Trenchtown Comprehensive, you went to the United States.
Yes, I went in the early 90s to join my mother, who was and is living in New York at the time, and I went to the School of the Hard Knocks, the South Bronx.
The Bronx.
The Bronx.
Again, there were many temptations there, many distractions in the Bronx.
The Bronx is a tough. The Bronx is a tough place because you have a lot of different people there, a lot of different kinds of influences.
Yes.
You know, when I was going to college, for example, sometime when I step out of my house,
Drugs.
I had to put on my game face, so to speak, because if the guys see you going to school and they think that you're a soft,
sissy,
sissy, and they pounce on you and stuff, so you have to,
yes.
What's up, man? And I got you,
Yes.
right? But you're going to college to do what you have to do.
You had to work and study.
I had to work and study. I mean, when I went to the States at first, I did a college prep course at Bronx Community College.
But
and
after you had to do the menial stuff.
Yes, and then I went to LaGuardia Community College to do a degree. I had to work to pay my tuition.
Tell us about the kinds of tough work you had to do.
The first of all, before I left, when I lived in Jamaica, I had never worked in my life.
True.
As far as having a job.
Yeah, man,
most people think
Jamaican
that foreign is a better route.
Yeah.
I had never worked in Jamaica. If I may, before I left Jamaica to go to the Bronx, I went downtown for a job interview at one of these bookstores, and the gentleman said to me, what is the hardest work you have ever done in your life? And I said, well, studying for chemistry is so... And before I could finish, he said, I meant manual labor. So my idea of hard work was academics, actually. So I get to the Bronx now, and I had to... my first job was being a mover. Mm-hmm. I met an African-American gentleman who had a truck, and he hired guys to move people from one apartment to the next. Let me tell you.
Winter, give me some example.
In New York, in the winter, when the temperature falls below 0, and one has to go into people's apartments and take out dressers, take out beds, and you're holding the dresser, maybe 2 of you hold a big heavy dresser, and you have to lift it into the back of the truck, right? And these are not trucks that have, nowadays they have the truck with the fancy thing, you put it on a lift and it lifts it up. You have to physically lift it.
And somebody have to walk down several stairs?
You have to walk. I was in Brooklyn, for example. We were moving a grand piano for this very wealthy Italian-American gentleman. And we were lifting a very heavy grand piano down a flight of 8 flights of stairs.
You have elevators.
The building, in Brooklyn they have some quite lovely and old buildings, but they don't have elevators. And when we were lifting, the elevators coming down, right, in this narrow staircase, and the weight of the elevator was up on us.
Weight of the piano.
Of the piano, excuse me. The guy was behind us saying, if it falls, make sure it doesn't touch the ground. If it falls, make sure it falls on you.
That's what the guys were
telling. Yeah, man, and the man there behind, we like a taskmaster walk, and with the pan and it a squeeze, and we have to bring it all the way down,
Yes.
Yeah, man, and
so there were times even the gloves were not enough to... I remember
I had on gloves moving, and I remember one day I was putting a dresser in the back of a truck. My hands were so cold. I couldn't even feel my finger them. And actually I was crying, like water start coming and them freeze up. Yes. And I felt like I want to run off. I felt like just leaving it right there. And I really thought about it. I said, boy, I can't bother with them hard work, But you know what I remembered? You say, if me don't do this, my tuition now go pay, and I go end up on the streets of the South Bronx where you have a number of things where you can do, and I never end of them something there.
So you thought of the alternative
Yeah.
to the hard path that you were on.
Let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Easy when you lift up furniture and this and that, right? But sometimes you have to think of the end result.
Precisely.
Let me suffer now, right?
Precisely.
As a friend of mine put it, let me campaign now and champion later.
Champion now and champion,
And champion later. Yes.
So that one has to have the goal in mind.
Yes, you put in the hard work now, and it is hard. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm a professor now and all of that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it was easy. It was not easy.
You worked as a waiter also.
I worked as a waiter for a gentleman in Manhattan. I worked on Mr. Vernon had a restaurant. I think it was called Vernon's Paradise, Jamaican Paradise, on 28th Street and 8th Avenue, right beside Madison Square Gardens.
You told me this wonderful story that you were fired from the job.
Yeah, the only
and then
job
after you got your degree and your awards and accolades, you went back there.
Yeah, what happened was my first night as a waiter, they had me doing deliveries. I was delivering Jamaican food to like New York Knicks players and things of that nature. And when I went, I was getting $40 tips, $50 tips, 100 US tip. And they had a system there, and I didn't know the system. When you are a waiter, if you get tips and I get tip and somebody else get tip, we must all pool our money and put it in a jar. And at the end of the night, we split it. So even if you make 500 tip, and me make 20, we have to split it. But the guys, they were mean to me from the first time I go there. They did, a man never pulled me and said, listen, them tip the way I get, just put in this stuff. So every time I came in and I got my tips, I have the tip in my pocket and I gave the boss the money that they paid for the food, or sometimes them charge it. At the end of the night now I'm ready to go home. And my boss, the guys were in the back. And I just heard giggling and laughing, and I don't know what I go on, right? So when I'm ready to go home now, and I said, all right, see you tomorrow. The boss said to me, you're not going to give me the money way in your pocket. And I felt,
so you think all this money was yours? You feel good?
I had like maybe $400 or $500 in tip in one night.
You feel nice.
And I feel nice. So yes, me can go pay me tuition now. I felt like a thief, you know what I mean?
Give him that, yeah.
Give him that, and from that, it's like him just kind of have me off. And the last thing that happened before I got fired, even the cook set me up one at a time. I tell you what, the cook, I used to be very sort of shy. I used to stand at the kitchen door. And then when the cook would give me the food to give to the guests, I used to run out and just drop the plate on the table and just run back into the kitchen.
Were you embarrassed?
Yeah, you know what it was? I have a brother, Warren, who is a bartender, waiter, chef, right? But it wasn't my thing, but me'd have to do it to survive, right? So what happened was one time the cook called me in the kitchen and said, you want a red snapper? The man give me a big red snapper with some okra, and I'm in the kitchen just chomping down and eating it. When I looked, I saw a shadow behind me.
Boss.
I'm turn around and my boss stays so. The boss stays so. And then what happened was
Wanga got
thing, right? And I know the cook, he would have known better and set me up. So what happened was...
So eventually you're fired. We're going to take that story when we come back.
Yeah.
Harcourt will tell the story. What happened on that night when he took fellow college students to that same restaurant. We take a final break on Profile. Welcome back. We're speaking to visiting scholar in the African Studies Department at Boston University, Harcourt Fuller. Grew up in Kingston 13, lived in a one-bedroom shack with 9 other members of his family, attended Trenchtown Comprehensive, but went on to the prestigious London School of Economics, the School of Lasky and Michael Manley, where he earned his PhD. But you're telling us about that night in New York after you had your accolades after the first degree.
Yeah, so
you're fired from the restaurant.
I got fired. I was leaving work the night, and my boss gave me an envelope with $100, which was my weekly pay, and a pink slip, and said, "This is your last pay now." And you know what? I didn't know that I was fired. I guess I was naive at the
Oh,
time.
the
I
pink
never
slip.
know, so me fired.
You didn't know you were
I'm
fired?
sitting on a train going to Parkchester. I'm sitting on a 6 train, feel happy about the $100. I'm sitting down and I say, hold on there. But no fire, I'm just fired there. So it destroyed me. I was so devastated because I've never been fired
before.
and I felt like a failure, like I let him down.
Yes.
But anyway, after I went to LaGuardia Community College of the City University of New York, and I finished with my first degree, my associate in science, in liberal arts and sciences. My friends, and I had friends from Bangladesh, from England, from Peru, all over Brazil, all over the world. When we graduated, they all said, we want to go to a Jamaican restaurant,
Yes.
right? So I said, the only good one I know, like, as them that's a top,
Yeah.
was the one where I used to work for. But honestly, I felt uncomfortable about going there, but they wanted the best, so I took them there. So we all pooled our monies together.
Yeah.
Rented a limousine.
Limousine?
A limousine, yeah, man.
Back to that place,
yes,
a limousine.
yes, because we were graduating.
Yes.
We pulled up at the restaurant. The chauffeur came out, opened the door. We all went in, right? I greeted my former boss. And let me tell you, when the same waiter them we used to really that treated me so badly saw me, them couldn't believe. But me hear them up still.
And they had to come serve you.
The whole always sit down, right? All the way. There were like 20 people sit down around the table. And everybody's toasting. We had champagne and
toasting,
everybody's toasting. And they got up and said, and to Fuller, who has, been to the Dominican Republic and learned Spanish and won this award and this and that. And here, cheers and saludos and, and we all, we all toasted each other.
Yes.
And my friends, our farmer friends, would be standing off on the side, right, waiting to serve us, and then someone would, hit the glass, and he would come over and serve us. And to be honest with you, right, I'm not a vindictive person.
Yes.
I felt badly because we never got to show off on a one, right? But while I was there, they had to come and serve us and stuff like that. And when it was all over, me boom off man fist and say, yeah, man, just hold it.
Yes.
And when I was leaving, my ex-boss said to me, Fuller, I always knew that you had it in you, and me and him joke. This wasn't for you, but me always knew say you's a brains man.
You said that.
And we shook hands and I left. And I kind of felt vindicated away, you know?
Yes. And it just shows the power of a vision and the importance of the discipline and the determination to achieve that vision.
I mean, you're gonna go through some things, You see when you try the straight and narrow, when you decide that you're gonna take, especially with education, right?
Yeah.
Because to do a PhD, it takes years and dedication and frustration and all of these things.
And
but you have to just stay up on the path.
You experienced frustrations in Britain because you went to Britain, your costs were piling up.
Well, put it this way, I had a business. I had a T-shirt company in New York. We did well for a while. Then, they started bootlegging my things, and I decided that I wanted to go to the London School of Economics because they had a degree in international history, and I wanted that. So I went there. Yes. Didn't have any money when I went to LSE. I just went there. I sold and gave away all my stuff in New York and just went there.
On faith.
On faith and a dream.
So there came a time when you owed money.
One time, right, in my second year, I owed £20,000.
You didn't know where the money was coming from?
We never knew where the money had come from. So what happened was that I got a call from the bursar, from the fees office called me and they said to me, they said to me, Mr. Fuller, this is the London School of Economics. Everyone who comes here can afford it. If you cannot come up with the $20,000 by a certain
pounds,
date,
yeah.
I'm sorry, pounds.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to ask you to leave.
Whoa.
Right. I got an ultimatum. Right. This was at the end of the year. No, I went back to campus. Right. This was during the summer. I went back to campus and me sit down in one of the building them. And I said, God, me can't come to London School of Economics and can't finish and go back to New York as a failure and do what? So I'm sitting downstairs, right? This was during the summer period. Everyone had already traveled. A voice said to me, Harcourt, get up and walk. And I say, get up and walk? Where me I go? And the voice say, just keep quiet and get up and walk. So I get up and I walk, I talk to myself. People go to see me and think say me a madman. I talk to myself and all of these kind of things. And the voice said to me, go up to the history department, right, which was on the 6th floor. I got up and I went to the history department and I saw the secretary. The secretary, you know, we greeted each other and there was a white gentleman sitting there. The white gentleman said to me, he was looking at me, right? He had his legs crossed and he was looking at me. And he said to me, do you go to school here? Now, I was the only black.
I'm going to cut you because they're winding me down.
Okay.
But the long and short of the story is that you did get a scholarship.
I got a scholarship for almost £40,000 for 3 years.
And that enabled you to finish.
That enabled me to finish.
And you have been, you've traveled to Ghana, you've traveled to
Peru, to Ecuador, to the Dominican Republic.
You don't speak Spanish.
Sí, caballero, yo hablo el español. Sí.
So you have achieved a lot of your dreams. You've been to the Amazon.
Yes, I've been to the Amazon, six hours on a boat in the Amazon. I was studying sustainable development there. Yeah, I've been to 4 continents.
4 continents.
So far, yes.
A lot for a boy from Crescent Road.
Yeah, man.
You show it can be done. It doesn't matter where one is coming from.
If you have a personal drive, you have the support of your family and there are opportunities, you can do it. You can make it.
You told me off here you made a list of 4 sheets of people whom you knew had been murdered, including your 2 best
I had to stop.
Friends.
When I was writing my autobiography and I was dedicating it to friends, I had to stop
there
writing.
Could have been other Harcourt fullers.
Yes.
In those persons, the numbers of persons who have been killed.
Yes.
We're glad that at least you were rescued. Another inspiring story on Profile. Until next week when I'm back, Ian Boyne wishing you a very pleasant and a very productive week.